There are some things that you can't explain away with logic or reason. There are certain events that happen in life that seem to defy all rational thought. They appear to be random and without cause, yet still they happen. And those who have experienced such events often find themselves forever changed by the encounter. Our next Reddit user will tell us about one such event that happened to him and his wife. My wife and I bought an old Victorian house at a ridiculously low price because it was in terrible condition and needed a lot of work. It took 2 months for my wife and I to move in after purchasing it because we had to do so many repairs, including putting in a new roof, rewiring and replumbing the whole place, and fixing up a few rooms that were literally falling apart. We did most of the work ourselves because we had no choice. My wife is a licensed electrician and plumber, so thank God she got most of the work done quickly. I worked as a carpenter and fixed up some of the floors, doors, windows, etc. After doing this, we finally got to move in. It was late autumn when we turned on the heat for the very first time. It was only 1 month into us living in our new home that we started hearing strange noises coming from within the walls. At first, we thought that they were mice scurrying around since the insulation in the walls was pretty thick. We set traps and killed a couple of mice, but then the noises continued. My wife and I looked at each other and asked, "Did you hear that?" It was scratching again, but not like mice. It sounded more deliberate. My wife was certain that it was just mice and told me not to worry about it. However, every night that winter, the scratching continued. Sometimes it would go on for hours. One day, my wife and I were relaxing in bed after dinner, and we started hearing the scratching again. It was getting louder. As the scratching progressed, it sounded like whispers. We couldn't make out any words, though. Then it seemed like the voices were talking about something. Then it sounded like sentences. "Help me. Let me out. He's watching. Get out." Those are some of the sentences that we heard. Obviously, we were scared to death at this point. We looked at each other and my wife burst out crying. "I don't want to stay here," she cried. I hugged her and whispered soothing words into her ear. "It's going to be all right," I promised her. But I wasn't so sure myself. The following day, I went down to the basement to try to find where the voices were coming from. My wife refused to come with me. She spent the entire day in bed crying and praying. In the basement, I checked everywhere. I knocked on every wall and tapped on every pipe and wire. I even took apart the old heater to see if maybe the noise was coming from it. No luck. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a loose brick on the far wall. I pulled on it and it fell out. There was a gap between the bricks and I could feel air coming from it. I felt around in the hole and reached my hand into the gap. It was hollow. I could feel nothing except for some wires. I called my wife to come downstairs to check this out, but she refused. "I am not going down there," she screamed from upstairs. "You go because I am too scared." I nodded and slowly removed more of the mortar between the bricks to enlarge the hole. After a few minutes, I could fit my head into the gap. I looked through and saw a dark hole leading into the wall. I grabbed an old flashlight and shined it into the hole. I noticed what appeared to be a staircase descending into total darkness. "Claire," I called up. "I think I just found the source of the noise. There's a hole in the wall and there's a set of stairs that lead into it. I don't know where it leads to, but I'm gonna go find out." I heard no reply. Claire was still afraid to come down there. Taking a deep breath, I descended the stairs into the darkness. At first, I couldn't see anything, but then my eyes adjusted to the dim light that filtered in through a crack somewhere above me. I walked forward and noticed that the space was empty. I shone my light around and saw that it was a small, square room, roughly 4 by 4 meters. There was a door opposite me made of solid wood, similar to the rest of the house, but it was locked. The walls were lined with shelves that held various objects, including an old rocking horse, a wooden doll, a child's sled, and a large trunk in the corner. I stepped forward and opened the trunk. Inside, I found a girl's clothing, mostly from the Edwardian period, along with a pair of worn leather shoes. I closed the trunk and approached the rocking horse. I felt a sudden dread wash over me. I don't know how else to describe it. I've never experienced anything like it before or since. I wanted to get away from there as fast as possible. I backed out of the room, retracing my steps until I reached the hole in the wall. Pulling myself through the opening, I climbed out onto the basement floor. My hand scraped against the rough surface of the bricks and suddenly my fingers touched something hard. I reached into the hole and pulled it out. It was a thick hardcover journal. Brushing the dirt off of it, I opened it up and began reading. It was written in ink by someone named Emily. She wrote of how she lived in the house with her parents and brother. She would often play hide and seek in the house. One day while playing hide and seek, she hid in the small room in the wall and her father found her and locked her in there. Every day he would come in and check on her, bringing her food and water. He told her that he was protecting her from her sick mother. He told her that her mother was a horrible person and had left them. He told her that her mother had passed away from sickness. Emily didn't believe him. She knew that her mother would never abandon her. Her father would often beat her and yell at her, calling her a bad girl. One day, Emily's brother found her in the room. She begged him to help her, but he just laughed and left. Emily's father came in shortly after and beat her even more than usual because her brother told him that she had been hiding in the wall again. When her father left, Emily wrote, "I hope he dies. If I'm trapped in this room, I may as well kill him. He doesn't deserve to live anyway. I hate him." The next entry read, "I'm out of food and water. I'm so thirsty and hungry. Please, God, let him die soon. I'm so tired." The final entry simply read, "If someone finds this, please help me." He's in the walls now. At this point, I felt sick to my stomach. I slammed the book shut and ran out of the basement and back into my truck. I drove to a nearby store and bought a shovel and a tarp. When I returned, I dug a big hole in the backyard and buried the book in the shoes. I then filled in the hole and put the bricks back in front of the opening. I didn't tell my wife about the discovery that I had made. She wouldn't believe me anyway, and I didn't want to upset her anymore. Also, I didn't know what to do about it. What was I supposed to do? Call the cops and tell them that a man from the early 1900s was haunting my basement? Yeah, good luck with that. For the next few weeks, we didn't hear any more strange noises. But one night as I was laying in bed trying to sleep, I heard my wife scream. I rushed to her side and asked, "What's wrong?" I don't know," she stammered. "It was just a dream." I wasn't convinced. I got out of bed and went to the basement to check if the noises had started again. The house was silent. I climbed back into the wall and looked around. Everything was fine. I came back upstairs and tried to get my wife to come and look, but she refused. No, she said frantically. "Don't make me go down there." I sighed and went back upstairs. "It's okay," I said to her. "Whatever was making the noise has stopped." But it wasn't true. Whatever had been in the walls was still there. That night we were both awoken by loud banging and scratching coming from within the walls. I jumped out of bed and ran up the stairs to the attic. My wife was right behind me. We looked around the attic and saw nothing. Just as we were about to leave, we heard Claire's phone fall off the table. It was sitting on a table with the screen facing upwards, displaying a recorded video. On it was a message that read, "You didn't leave. Now you stay with us forever." In the background, we could hear breathing from inside the walls. I quickly unplugged the phone so that it couldn't record any more of us screaming in terror as we watched. The video played over and over again. That's the last thing that we heard from it. In the morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, we found that the phone was dead. We haven't seen or heard from Claire since that day. We sold the house for a huge profit to a developer, and we haven't looked back. But sometimes at night, when I'm trying to sleep, I can still hear the scratching from within the walls. And sometimes I swear that I can hear Claire's voice calling my name. Wow, that was a crazy story. What do you think happened to this guy's wife? Let me know your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to check out more content like this. Thanks for watching.